Hello, I'm Angela Murphy and you're watching Global Pulse here on Asia 1. This week, Myanmar's long war reaches another grim milestone. Gazans mark 1,000 days of genocide and displacement. Venezuela's earthquake aftermath turns into a desperate search for survivors as families wait for answers. And at 250 years old, America looks back, while some ask whose history is being celebrated. So let's begin the week in Asia. 5 years after Myanmar's military seized power, the conflict shows little sign of ending. More than 100,000 people are estimated to have died, while millions have been displaced, and communities across the country continue to endure the war's devastating human toll.
Myanmar's civil war has surpassed a grim milestone, with conflict monitor ACLEAD, armed conflict location and event data, reporting more than 100,000 conflict-related deaths since the military coup of February 2021. The overthrow of the elected government sparked nationwide resistance and intensified fighting between the military, pro-democracy forces and ethnic armed groups, making it one of Asia's deadliest ongoing conflicts.
I hate the military that is going around killing everyone regardless of race or religion. I hate them so much. But I am helpless. I just have to avoid them and stay out of their way. I share the pain of everyone who has died in connection with this political situation.
The conflict has also claimed the lives of large numbers of young people, leaving many communities devastated.
Many youths have already died after the coup. How many more young people will have to die? Only the elderly and the very young children are left. The generation in between has been cut down.
For many families, the war has shattered lives and futures, leaving relatives struggling to cope with loss and uncertainty.
Everything happened just because of a craving for power. If there was no coup, the children would be studying at schools and the elders could go to hospital for health care, and there would be a comfortable life.
5 years after the military takeover, fighting continues across large parts of Myanmar with no clear end in sight. As the death toll rises and millions remain affected by the conflict, families continue to call for peace while mourning loved ones lost in one of the region's most devastating wars.
Competition for jobs is intensifying across China, and one culinary school is betting that mastering the grill can offer a path to employment. The country's first barbecue academy is training aspiring chefs and entrepreneurs in a trade that's become increasingly popular with younger generations.
As unemployment pressures and economic uncertainty push many Chinese workers to seek new opportunities, a unique training school in southern China is offering a different path to success. At the Yueyang Barbecue Academy, former factory workers, office employees, and aspiring entrepreneurs are learning how to turn grilled skewers into profitable businesses. When they come to our Yueyang Barbecue Academy, we will teach them how to identify ingredients, cut meat, skewer meat, and core seasoning techniques, everything all the way to roasting it into a finished product. We will teach them step by step. But mastering the grill is only part of the challenge. As competition in China's food industry grows, instructors say restaurant owners now need a broader range of skills to survive in a crowded market. Today, securing a prime location, mastering your skills, and delivering good service are just the basics. On top of that, you must also understand marketing management and online traffic. Restaurant owners today basically have to gradually evolve into a hexagon warrior. Among the trainees is Zhang Tengfei, who spent a decade working in the automotive sector before losing his job. Looking for a fresh start, he enrolled in the academy with hopes of eventually becoming his own boss.
I worked in the automotive industry for 10 years before being laid off by the company Beijing-Benz. Competition in the auto industry is very fierce right now. After the layoff, as days went by, I began to feel that starting my own business would be better than taking another day job. That's how I came across this school online.
Founded earlier this year, the Yueyang Barbecue Academy aims to train thousands of grill masters over the next 5 years. Its founder believes barbecue businesses require relatively little investment and can provide a practical route to self-employment, offering new opportunities for workers seeking to rebuild their careers in a changing economy.
Turning our attention now to what's been happening this week in the Middle East. 1,000 days after Israel's genocide in Gaza began, vast numbers of Palestinians remain displaced and dependent on aid. Families living in tent camps say survival has become a daily struggle.
Rows of makeshift tents stretch across the central Gaza. For thousands of displaced Palestinians, these temporary shelters have become home. 1,000 days after October 7th, many families are still living without reliable access to electricity, clean water, or adequate housing. Children carry water containers through the camp. Mothers try to shield babies from the intense summer heat.
1,000 days of suffering, tragedy, and displacement. 1,000 days of standing in line for free food, struggling for water and cooking over a fire. 1,000 days of suffering greatly without work and 1,000 days of hunger.
The war, which began in 2023, has devastated much of Gaza and displaced the vast majority of its population. Abdul Nasser Musla says every day has become a fight for life's basic necessities.
Today is 1,000 days of deprivation, suffering, inhumanity, and a life devoid of meaning. Today is 1,000 days of being deprived of education and the basic necessities of life, electricity, water, and all essentials.
In Gaza City, the milestone was marked with visits to heavily damaged sites, including Al-Shifa Hospital. Palestinian authorities say more than 73,000 people have been killed since the war began, and thousands more remain missing beneath the rubble. Hundreds of thousands of homes and buildings have been damaged or destroyed.
We in Gaza see no basic necessities of life, no end to the war or destruction. We suffer daily, martyrs fall, and destruction continues. For 1,000 days we have been living in dilapidated and inhumane tents.
1,000 days on, for many Palestinians in Gaza, the conflict is measured not in military developments or diplomatic statements, but in days spent waiting for food, searching for water, and hoping for an end to the war.
Tensions remain high across southern Lebanon, where residents are pushing back against Israel's designation of their village as a so-called pilot zone. Locals insist the area remains under Lebanese control, despite widespread destruction and months of conflict.
Residents of southern Lebanon's Frown are rejecting Israel's designation of their village as a pilot zone. Local officials say Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu wrongly identified Frown as a pilot zone for Hezbollah disarmament. The village mayor says the designation has angered residents already struggling with extensive war damage.
Unfortunately, 48 hours ago, the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu announced that the towns of Froun and Zoutar al-Garbieh are 2 pilot zones. It really provoked us as a municipality and residents because Froun is outside of the yellow line and isn't occupied. There aren't any Israeli soldiers here. Instead, the Lebanese army has been deployed throughout the war up until now.
Residents insist Israeli forces never established a presence in the village despite repeated military brutalities in the area. Local authorities say Lebanese security forces have remained deployed throughout the conflict.
The Israeli enemy didn't even enter the village. They tried hard, but they weren't able to. They have no presence in the village. It doesn't make sense that it's a pilot zone. The Lebanese army has a presence in the village. Even during the war, they were here. The emergency forces are here. It's useless.
As residents continue clearing the rubble of destroyed homes, local leaders insist Frown remains under Lebanese state authority and reject Israel's characterization of the village as a model for Hezbollah disarmament.
Moving on to Europe now. Extreme heat and dry conditions are once again fueling major wildfires across southern Europe. France is now battling a fast-moving blaze that's forced evacuations and sent hundreds of firefighters into difficult terrain.
The wildfire broke out in the Hérault department before spreading into neighbouring Aude, prompting a major emergency response. More than 200 residents were evacuated or told to remain indoors as thick smoke spread across affected communities.
However, there are still areas on the left and right flanks that are inaccessible, so the fire is spreading. Resources are in place to stop it when it comes within range. Nevertheless, the fire has not yet been brought under control.
Authorities say strong winds, prolonged dry conditions, and steep terrain continue to hamper firefighting efforts. Water-dropping aircraft have joined hundreds of firefighters on the ground as crews work to prevent the blaze from spreading further.
Nevertheless, it is still raging fiercely. It is an undergrowth fire, there is plenty of fuel, and above all, it is very windy, so conditions are difficult with rough terrain making access challenging.
Officials say the wildfire remains active despite extensive firefighting operations. The blaze comes days after a deadly European heatwave and follows major wildfires in the same region last year, raising fresh concerns over worsening fire conditions during the summer season.
Britain's changing climate has reached another milestone. England has recorded its hottest June since records began, with prolonged heat disrupting transport networks, schools and healthcare services across the country.
England has recorded its hottest June since records began in 1884. The official National Meteorological Service for the United Kingdom's Met Office says England's average temperature reached 17.1 degrees Celsius, marking the warmest June on record after an intense late-month heatwave. Experts say unusually warm nights and persistent high temperatures defined the month.
Unfortunately, where I work doesn't have air conditioning, so it's very, there's a little fan, but it's quite warm in the space, so I've got this today.
Scientists warn extreme heat events are becoming more frequent, with calls for urgent adaptation in infrastructure across northern Europe. Experts say many buildings are not designed for rising summer temperatures.
Because this seems to be the trend, it's the direction of travel. So in places in Northern Europe that don't really have buildings that are meant to tackle these heat, there's going to really need to be a change of thought in how we manage that and retrofit. And
the Met Office says the record-breaking June forms part of a wider pattern of rising temperatures across 2026, as climate experts warn that extreme heat events are becoming more intense and more frequent.
Next on Global Pulse, as America marks 250 years of independence, some say the story began long before the United States existed. And Australia's favourite oversized beach bum is back.